On ABC Radio Victoria, this is Prue Bentley.
We are fascinated by origin stories, aren't we? And every culture has them. Stories that tell us how we got here, how the world came to be. But how much do you know about First Nations stories, First Nations origin stories? Today, ABC News launched a landmark online tool. It's called Deep Time, and it tells the epic ancient story of the Australian continent. In fact, you can actually go onto a map and you can click on different areas and see and hear those stories specifically from those areas. And they're really, they're very different. There's huge variety. The diversity is extraordinary. One of the First Nations knowledge holders who has been part of this project, and there's been over 130 cultural stories gathered, is Wiradjuri man Mark Sadler from Bunji Cultural Tours. Did I get that right, Mark?
Yeah, that's all right. It's Bunji, but
Bunji.
You're pretty close. That's all good, yeah.
Thank you very much for helping me out. So
okay.
How important was it for you to be able to share your culture as part of this project?
Well, it's culture that's been shared with me, passed down from generations, obviously. So I'm very proud that I can share some stories from my Mudji, going from my elders to other people, and I'll also before we start, I'll also pay respects to your people down there in Victoria, that your mobs down there, because they've got many stories too. So, look, my story that they contacted me about some time ago was Dinawan Murlara, which is the emu in the night sky. And amazingly, the other night, I do a bit of night photography because I don't read and write that well, so I do sort of visual and oral stuff. So, looking at stuff, and I was doing some night photography, and the Dinawan, she's actually laying down facing your country from where I live at the moment, so she's got her head down there. So basically, I'm a Wiradjuri man, and our culture's been here for at least 60 and 70,000 years, and I work with a lot of archaeologists, and we find a lot of stuff around here that's still very relevant to us. So our stories are timeless. The Dinawan, which is the emu in the night sky, is very important. So I'm based in a place called Wagga Wagga. So people know this place as Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. It's actually Wagga, place of many crows, and Wagga come here and dance. So
it's actually the sounds of the landscape.
It's a lot of our Aboriginal language, and I'm talking Wiradjuri this afternoon. A lot of our Wiradjuri language relates back to either what the animal sounds like or what it looks like, or a classic one is a kangaroo, a grey kangaroo. And one of our words in our language is womboin, because it's womboin.
Wow.
And then you've got Dinawan, which is the emu. So basically the emu in the night sky, people will call that the Milky Way. In our language we call it the Billabong, which is a river stopping, where you get the word Billabong from, Billabong. And we see a Dinawan either sleeping, standing or running in that night sky. Mm. And depends how he or she is standing or sitting, or that determines when we do our cropping and when we're allowed to go and collect the gabooga, the eggs.
So this is kind of like a constellation, is it, Mark?
Yeah, well, the Milky Way, everyone knows it's the Milky Way, but in our language it's Billabong, and we see a very significant animal in that, which is the emu. And at the moment she's sleeping, so she's got married to Dad some time ago. She's had her boobajis. We don't go near those animals in the time of the year when we see that the billabong's a certain way. Now that she's resting, she's had her family. Dad's taken the young ones off to teach them, and Mum will have a rest. And now it's okay for us to go back and visit those animals again at this time of year. So
this is a story about seasons and, how you interact with the land during certain seasons, yeah?
100%. How we interact with the Nurrumbung, with our home countries, is hugely important to us. What we do as people now is we try to change the environment to suit ourselves. And, we have an air conditioner, we have this, we have that, there's a tree in the way, we knock it down, we plant another one. The Wiradjuri way of doing things is not to so much do that, is to place ourselves into the environment and see how we can fit into it rather than change it. So the night sky tells us multiple stories, how to find our way home, when to crop, when to do all sorts of things, because your listeners have got to understand also, a lot of them have been taught in Australia that Aboriginal people were just nomadic and wandered around, which is not the case. And we did and do cropping, so we are farmers as well. So that night sky tells us when we start our crops as well.
You lead cultural awareness school programs and Bunji cultural tours, as I mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
When you tell these stories, how do people respond when they start hearing them?
I do a lot of stuff with archaeologists too and construction workers to try and get their head around Wiradjuri culture I'm talking about today. When I start to talk, I can see people thinking, and I can see them taking time to step back and think, well, this is not what we were ever told. We don't understand. And I can see in their eyes. So I've worked out, there's a couple of platforms that I operate on because I don't read and write. As I said, I operate a YouTube channel which is called Wiradjuri Man Mark, and a Facebook page which is called Wiradjuri Mob. Your listeners will see in both those things that I do, I teach in a very childish way, because I've found that if I can touch the inner child inside that person and teach, that child that was 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 that was eager to learn is still in there. And I need to get that person out so I can teach to them. And once I do that, you can see their faces open up. The best part about what I do is people asking questions. And I don't challenge what they believe in. I just give them another option to learn about.
Mark, thank you very much for sharing just a smidgen of your story. I know you've got plenty more to share, but of course people can head to the Deep Time website to hear some of those stories that you shared with us today. Thank you once again.
So proud to meet you. Thank you.
Mark Sadler, he's a Wiradjuri man from Wagga Wagga.